Hi there, I just thought I'd put together a short clip to explain more about the fire ants in southeast Queensland and one of the products used to fight fire ants called Distance Plus. That top image is a video that I took at a small hobby farm in southeast Queensland. Note how there's no fire ants visible at the moment and it just looks like a dirt pile with no entry holes at all. I'll just start that and make sure you look and see that there's absolutely no ants in the photo at all. I'll just start the video and I just go down. No ants until I scratch it with my finger with the rubber gloves on. And look just how thousands mass out and rush over everything, including up the grass there, and it wore up your leg. They just are so fast they could attach to a tennis ball that's rolled over the nest and bite the child that picked up the ball. Be warned, they will actively seek you out and bite you. And not just one of them, but many will bite you at once. It's incredible to watch that video. There's none there, and then all of a sudden they're everywhere. To introduce myself, I'm just a householder. I'm not an expert on fire ants, but I really do have a lot of experience living with fire ants. I've tried to keep this as simple explanation. I fight fire ants to try and keep my grandchildren as safe as possible, but to also stop fire ants spreading right across Australia. Trust you enjoy this presentation and will learn something as well. Some quick information about fire ants while that video plays over and over. Fire ants can actually survive inside a microwave while cooking. A queen can live for up to 7 years and a mature queen can lay up to 5,000 eggs per day. To put this in context and show why they are such a threat, 365 days a year multiplied by 5,000 eggs per day, it's almost 2 million eggs per year, and each queen lives for 7 years. Wow. A queen can fly about 5 kilometres to establish a new nest, and the new nest may be invisible underground for several months before starting to build a mound above ground. These are an incredibly invasive pest that can ruin the Australian way of life forever if they're not eradicated soon. So what do fire ants look like? Various sorts. The one on the right there, that was a dirt pile, and that was under trees, but the nest can be a dirt pile either in the open against a tree, against a structure like a telephone pole or something like that, up against a concrete curb, under a piece of timber, under a log. This particular one here was under a tree beside a road at Jacobs Well, just along Puth Road there. There were quite a few along there. The one in the middle there is just a flat dirt pile in the middle of a grassy area. No sign of an entry hole, no sign of ant activity until it was disturbed, and then they went mad. The one on the top left, that's just a sort of typical large fire ant mound. Again, no entry hole, just a pile of dirt. And the one at the bottom left there, that fire ant nest was flooded, so it formed a raft and they float downstream to spread further. This is extremely dangerous in that if the fire ants spread over the range to Toowoomba, Garry Creek runs into Myall Creek out through Oakey and Dalby, and then Myall Creek runs into the Condamine River, which runs into the Murray River, which will be a super highway for fire ants all the way down to South Australia. So we really need to beat them soon. Screenshot of some text on a website for electrical tradespeople called electricalconnection.com.au. You can see the web address there at the top. And they state, fire ants forage all over the place. If they come across an electrical switch or something like that, and they happen to make contact, the ants get zapped. Then they send out an alarm pheromone that attracts all nearby fire ants. These ants rush in and touch the one that's been electrocuted, and they get electrocuted too. The more ants come in, and suddenly the whole thing shorts out. This can happen in air conditioners, electric pumps on farms, transformer boxes, telephones, circuit breakers, and traffic lights. It can even affect lights at airports. You can imagine the chaos of airport lights going out. In the US, it costs airports about 142 million each year to treat fire ants and replace lighting equipment that's been shorted out. If the worst case scenario were to occur and fire ants spread all over Australia, electricalconnection.com.au estimate the damage bill to telecommunication, electrical supply and equipment would be $500 million, that's with a B, each year. What do fire ant bites look like? Fire ants swarm over everything until one ant bites and releases a pheromone to notify all the other ants to bite at once. The fire ants will hold on with the front pincers, as you can see in that photo where the skin is pinched up. Then the fire ant will sting with their tail. It will rotate to bite multiple times in one spot, and that's why they cause those pustules. Bees bites sting for hours and remain itchy for a week or so, with evidence the bites can be visible for a few months. Research in 1989 showed there had been 83 fatal reactions to fire ant attacks in the USA. This includes a 12-year-old boy playing football. The players were in a huddle when the boy started yelling, "Ants, ants, ants." Even though the team had a defibrillator and he was quickly rushed to hospital, he sadly died less than a week later. This shows how deadly fire ants can be. Has there been any serious injuries in Australia as yet? Well, this popped up the other day, February 2025. Last week, we attended a business in Yatala where a staff member discovered the hard way that he is severely allergic to fire ants. After being stung outside of work, he went into anaphylactic shock. They got him to hospital quickly, they gave him adrenaline, and without it, he wouldn't have made it. So, thing is, you don't know that you're going to have an anaphylactic shock until you've had a bite. And that includes your children and your grandchildren. You just don't know if they're going to have that reaction or not. So we need to beat these quickly. Good news is the National Fire Ant Eradication Program will provide a free fire ant treatment kit on request as long as you live in the affected areas. Just Google free fire ant treatment kit and click on the link, or report your active fire ants and the team will respond in your area. The kit will be appropriate for your property size and include information about the product. That's the front of the brochure and the bottle of Distance Plus there. It's got a lot of information. On the back of the brochure, there's 4 easy steps. They are: number 1, read the label and follow the safety instructions. 2, twist off the cap and remove the seal. That's a very important step. You get nothing out otherwise. Screw the cap back on and sprinkle a light dusting over your property. Very light. Number 4 step is record that you've treated your property by scanning the code or going to the Fire Ant Program website where you reported the nests. A very simple process, just like salt shaker, and you shake it over your yard. When you get the bottle, you can peel back the sticky label, and underneath that sticky label is quite a lot of information. The general instructions there show you all about it. A shortened version of that gives a good idea of how the bait works and why it takes a while for the complete eradication of the nest. And I'll just read this for you. Distance Plus is an insect growth regulator. Ant workers pick up bait granules and take them back to the colony. Workers feed the solid bait to late-stage larvae, which process the granules into a liquid food, which is fed to reproductive adults, workers, and young larvae. The queen then fails to produce viable eggs, and gradually the worker ant population is reduced. The lack of worker replacement results in colony death as the workers age and die. Within 3 to 4 weeks, there's substantial colony mortality, and with 8 weeks, the majority of the colony will be eliminated. The majority of this bait is corn grit. to make it attractive to the fire ants. Corn grit soaked in a soybean oil, which is a minuscule amount of active constituent of pyriproxyfen. This clever design makes it simple to evenly spread the tiniest amount of pyriproxyfen required to eradicate fire ants. An average block of land would only need about half a shaker per application. Remember that most houses are around 200 square metres, and we also have paths and sheds and pools, etc., that do not need treatment. So less area means less product required. And you can see the application rate of the product is very light. So let's have a good look at the bottle. The active constituent is 5 grams per kilo of pyriproxyfen. Sorry for the pronunciation. But if a kilo of product has 5 grams of active constituent, then 1,000 grams divided by 5 is 200 grams. So 200 grams would have 1 gram of active constituent. The net contents are 150 grams. So based on that, 1 gram for 200 grams of product, you divide it by 200 multiplied by 150, so a 150 gram bottle would have just 0.75 grams of pyriproxyfen. And if the average yard needs half a bottle, that's 0.375 grams. So a third of a gram per average house yard of 500 square metres. So how much is 0.375 grams? Well, an aspirin tablet weighs about 0.3 of a gram. Imagine spreading the powder from 1 1/4 aspirin tablets, which is 0.375 grams, over your entire 500 square metre yard. It's not very much at all. And another example, a drop of water weighs about 0.417 grams. So 9 drops of water would weigh 0.3753 grams. So imagine spreading 9 drops of water over your entire yard. It's very, very minuscule, the amount of active constituent. And what is that active constituent? Well, it's used in pet products, as you can see there. This one's got 3 active ingredients, and one of them is pyriproxyfen. And this product's to banish fleas and ticks from your dog. And it's also used in cat products. This one uses 46 grams per kilo of pyriproxyfen, and that's to be used on your cat. Also just found this online. It's an ebook for vets. There's the address there. It's all about this pyriproxyfen, and it explains that it's arrests the development of the flea larvae, so that's what we were talking about before, as part of a comprehensive flea control program. And down the bottom there, they talk about the dosage. So for fleas, they say it's a spot-on or spray product. You apply monthly. They even talk about putting it in the feed and a household spray. So there you go. Pyriproxyfen has been fed to cattle. There's the web address there. Overseas studies have found that giving doses of pyriproxyfen to cattle is safe and recommended to control some parasites such as hornfly and other flies. They talk about the doses. 0.1 of a milligram per kilo of animal body weight per day were found to be effective in eliminating the parasites while causing no harm to the cattle. It just went straight through and came out in the Fisher-Max. So it just passed straight through the cattle. In Australia, we've got the National Registration Authority. They're an independent body, independent statutory authority. In their report, which is available online, they state that pyriproxyfen is not classified as a hazardous substance or a dangerous good. The probability of workers developing adverse health effects following long-term use is low. So for a householder where it's just treating their yard, it's extremely low. They have environmental aspects listed there too, and they say pyriproxyfen has relatively low persistence in water and moderate persistence in soil. The degradation does not accumulate, but it's mostly just CO2 and tiny fraction amount of CO2. Okay, let's do some myth busting. There's a lot of misinformation being spread, especially on social media, but it transitions over to traditional media, as in newspapers and TVs, and they've been guilty of it too. So let's start breaking down a few of these myths. So there's a claim that the chemicals used by the National Fire Ant Eradication Program put PFAS, which is forever chemicals it's often called, in the ground and waterways. Well, facts are the quantity of pyriproxyfen spread is incredibly minuscule, and it also contains zero PFAS, as you can see from the chart there. Studies also show that the product breaks down relatively quickly too, so that one's just totally busted. Another claim is the best way to treat fire ants is to spot treat visible nests. Well, visible nests are only part of the problem because there can be underground nests as well. Treating visible nests is great, it's good, no problem, but can be very similar to a whack-a-mole game. Disturbed nests can move and reappear nearby. Broadcast application is the only way to eradicate fire ants, as proven in several places around Australia. Claim that fire ants never build under trees. There's no point in broadcasting bait where there's trees. Well, facts are fire ants are less likely to be found under trees, but they are certainly regularly found under trees. This could be due to the eucalypt forests in Australia being less dense than those in the USA. I'm not sure, but there's definitely been active fire ant nests found in areas like Daisy Hill Koala Sanctuary, just near Springwood in Brisbane. Koalas would certainly be susceptible to death from fire ant attack. They go down to the ground and change trees, walk across a nest, and the fire ants will just swarm all over them. They're very slow moving. So there are certain risks, and fire ants certainly can be found under trees. So that claim is busted. There's also a claim that fire ants always have a dirt pile above the ground. So that's an easy way to look for them. Well, the fact is, a queen can fly up to 5 kilometres to find a suitable spot for a new nest, and she will breed fire ants underground without a visible mound above the ground for several months. The workers will start feeding well before the mound is built, so you can be attacked by fire ants when no nest is visible. So the claim about it always having a dirt pile above the ground is busted. The claim that the National Fire Ant Eradication Program is a cash cow looking to provide high paid jobs to staff for life. The fact is, the staff are being unfairly victimised and bullied because they are being so vigilant to perform their work, because they're committed to the eradication of this aggressive invasive pest. So that's definitely been busted. This claim that it's all about big pharma and the giant chemical companies just want to sell more products. Facts are the chemical companies will sell a lot more chemical if the fire ants spread right across Australia. So, that one's busted too. claim that the fire ant bait will wipe out all the native ants too. Well, facts are that fire ants are very voracious foragers. They usually find the baits before the native ants. And if the native ants do find bait, there may be some reduction in populations, but experience shows these populations are quick to repopulate after the fire ants are eradicated from an area. Let's face it, you get the pest guy to come and do your house for ants, and they just seem to come back. It's amazing. There's a claim that red imported fire ants have never been eradicated from Australia, from any areas. The facts are the staff have been successful in eradicating several outbreaks in Australia, for example at Fremantle, Sydney, Gladstone and more. Eradication may be impossible with other treatments, such as hot water, but the NFAEP treatment has been successful. So those claims are also busted. Here's a graphic that just shows those ones have been eradicated. There's a claim that the best way to identify fire ants is to look for very fast swarming activity when the nest is disturbed. Well, the fact is, in the morning and afternoon there is normally a lot of activity, but there are also times, such as midday on a hot day, when fire ants are deep in their nest and very sluggish if they do appear. So fire ants are copper brown in colour with a darker abdomen, quite small, 2 to 6 millimetres, and they're found in a variety of sizes in the one nest. You see on that original video I had, there were little ones and big ones all in the one nest, and they all sort of swarm together. So that claim about the best way to a fire ants is the fast swarm. Yes, it is a way, but it's certainly not the best way. You need to know that they're copper brown in colour with a darker abdomen, quite small at 2 to 6 mil, and found in a variety of sizes in the one nest. It's also a claim that fire ant baits can kill bees. Well, that's false too, because facts are beekeepers in USA use fire ant bait around their hives to protect the bees from fire ant attack. Bees are not attracted to corn grit, so would not be attracted to pyriproxyfen. That claim about fire ant bait killing bees, just wrong. A lot more information is available. Going on with that claim about fire ant bait will harm bees. There's a lot of information here, and I'll just go through it. But the size and shape of the treatment granule make it impossible for a bee to eat them. Bees' mouth parts resemble a straw, so the bee can't extract the active ingredient from the granule. There's a bit about other chemicals there too. And there's the thing about the bees in USA, so there's more to look at there, but that claim about the fire ants will harm bees, that is just totally busted. Okay, there's also a claim that there are no fire ants on my property. There are no fire ants on my property. Eh, Facts are, this is probably the biggest myth of all. I personally found fire ants, and the homeowner told me they didn't know they even had fire ants on their property. 100% of properties within a certain radius of a confirmed nest will need to be treated to allow the eradication to be possible. We need to eradicate fire ants so they do not spread further and cause more damage, deaths, and even more chemicals to be used. This claim that there are no fire ants on my property is very often made by people who have never seen a fire ant or a fire ant nest, so they would not know if there was a fire ant nest there or not. Their properties probably need to be checked more than any other, because they are very likely to be breeding fire ant queens that spread to infest their neighbours' properties. So that myth is busted. So thank you for your time. I appreciate you watching my video. I'll just replay that video from the start again. It's a bit of a typical situation with fire ants. They just swarm and they will track you down and they will bite you. Thank you very much for your time. Bye for now.